Welcome to the Principal PLN podcast hosted by Dr. Spike Cook, Jessica Johnson, and Teresa Stager. Principal PLN is a weekly roundtable discussion about current topics in educational leadership. Be sure to follow our hosts on Twitter at Dr. Spike Cook, at Principal J, and at Principal Stager. There are many great ways to contact the PLN. Follow the hashtag PrincipalPLN or at PrincipalPLN on Twitter. You can also search and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. All links can be found online at PrincipalPLN.com.
Hey, Teresa, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jess?
Good, good. We haven't talked in quite a while.
I know we've been vaxxing, but we haven't had any episodes in a while, so it's nice to finally get back moving again.
I know. Well, and we don't have Spike here. We're not sure what happened to him. He's had a really busy weekend. He did a keynote, and who knows what else he did. But he also got his book published last week. Look at it. If you can see this, I got it in the mail yesterday. Connected Leadership. It's just a click away.
Awesome.
I've only read one chapter of it, but
it was amazing, wasn't it?
Well, it had my name in it, so I kind of thought it was amazing. No, I'm just kidding.
Read the last chapter because that one has my name in it, and then that one can be amazing too.
Yeah. Okay, you're getting ahead of me with your lower third there.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
That's okay. So how has it been going in the principal world this week?
Pretty good. We had a crazy Tuesday. We had one of our staff members was in the ER, and then the substitute that we had was in a car accident on the way to school, and then we had one of our teachers who got kicked in the back of the head with a soccer ball. It wasn't even like it. He launched the soccer, he boot kicked it, and she was just in the way, and so we had to call the ambulance for her, and she's out for I think 3 weeks at least. So it was a weird week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but other than that, things are going smoothly. It's nice to not be spending all of September writing policies and procedures. So it's good. I've been in the classrooms and get to hang out with the kids, and it's been nice. How about you?
Yeah, good. Oh my gosh, it's been busy. I don't even know what major one thing to talk about. I think probably the biggest is that was just doing interviews for new hires again, having to add another first grade teacher because we've grown so much, which is a good problem to have, and hiring another special ed aide, and that was probably the bulk of my week, along with 8 million other things.
So then, if you had to hire another first grade teacher, how does that work now? Because obviously, are your kids in a room with a
So we have a special grant in our school that a lot of schools in Wisconsin have called SAGE funding, and we have to keep our class sizes at 18 or less in the kindergarten through third grades. Nice. And if you go over 18, then you have to have another teacher in there. So we knew we were going over in first grade. We were fine at the end of last year, and all of a sudden, all these extra first graders started coming out of nowhere. And so we set 2 of the classes at 18, and the other one just started growing. And so we were hiring a second teacher to be in there so they will co-teach all day. And so that class has 28 students.
Wow.
But we've done this before, and even though parents had concerns of their class having more kids, the kids in the classrooms that were had larger class sizes, but 2 teachers made more growth than the other classrooms. So it always ends up being really awesome with 2 teachers co-teaching all day. Just so much that they can do together.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had a sub in there in the meantime, and are starting with the person that we hired. So that's pretty exciting.
That's an interesting. It's an interesting. I can't even.
Co-teaching.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that the classes that have 2 teachers but more students actually is better for student learning than 18 students to 1 teacher.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
Well, just from observing in the classrooms, the 2 teachers who we had before, they worked so well together. While one was teaching, the other was, could already see what kind of mistakes kids were making to be able to jump into the lesson and say, here's a common mistake, and or they would, for example, in literacy, they would plan not just to split the kids, but one would confer just for reading while the other would confer with writing, or one would take these groups for 2 weeks, and one would take these groups for 2 weeks, and then they would switch. So they both get to know so many different parts of the students, and really, two brains working on the same group of kids.
And you can have a specialized, if you have an ELA specialist and a math specialist, or that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, hey, let's get into our topic for the night.
Let's do it.
Which is staying healthy to outlast this marathon of this school year. I had previously written a blog post this summer about how I had ended the year, like, not depressed, but just very burnt out and fried, which is so easy for principals to do, or any educator, really. And so this past summer, I have really been on a mission to try to get myself mentally and physically and emotionally healthy, and I know you've joined me on that.
I was going to say, and you're dragging all of us with you, kicking and screaming.
Well, because I need people to cheer me on, so if I can drag you with them, we're in it together.
That's right. It's good. It ends up being, and so Jess started reading The Miracle Morning, which I think we've talked about a couple times on here. And so, we've all been trying to wake up early and to get all of these things done in the morning and do our lifesavers. And every night when I go to sleep, I lay down and I grab my phone and I play solitaire or some stupid mindless game. And then everybody's asleep and I'm like, oh, it's finally quiet. There's no one here. Nobody's talking. And then I'm up all night because I love the quiet. What I have to remind myself is that it's quiet in the morning too. With all the kids. I can't switch that. I've always been a night owl, so I am really struggling with getting up. But my husband and I are on a mission to make this work and get it going, because it's huge. There really is nothing like the feeling of accomplishing things before like 7 a.m.
Yes. Well, and I think for me, and I don't have the book with me to like read the quote, but the one, and I'll probably botch the quote, but it was something like, you can't grow professionally unless you're growing personally as well. And it's very easy for principals or educators to set that personal part of us aside and just focus on our job and like stay late and work early and bring it home and whatever, and like nothing else grows in our life except for just work.
Yeah, it's true. And even when we're reading, when we're reading things, I'm always reading professional things anyway. But that's, for me, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that. So I'm trying to find a way to read something that, like, to get myself into a book or something, just to do something else, something for me.
Yeah.
It's tough, though.
Yeah. So, we'll be having Hal Elrod, the author of The Miracle Morning, in a future podcast. But for now, I just thought we'd talk about maybe some tips to take care of yourself as principals, because you might be doing okay right now, but I don't care who you are. Like, eventually you're going to be buried at the bottom of a paperwork and evaluation and discipline pile, and you won't be able to dig yourself out. So
give it to conferences.
Yeah.
Parent-teacher conferences is always about the time that I start going downhill real quick, and it was as a teacher too. It's just, you get to that point, and it's like there's no stopping it. Mm-hmm. There's just too much to do. I've started working on a couple of things, just time savers, really. We were talking actually before Jess was ready a little bit ago to do the podcast, and I was like, I need a little bit extra time. What I try to do is on Sundays, I try to make my lunches for the week as much as I possibly can. So I get those done on Sundays and just put them all in the fridge, and that way I can just grab it and go. The kids have hot lunch, so it's not that big of a deal for them. But we also they have to take snacks every day. My kids are in kindergarten and first grade, so they're still doing snacks at school. And we have a big bin that we put in servings of snacks in little plastic bags, and we fill them up all on Sundays. We put in Go-Go Squeeze or granola bars or something like that, and then the kids can pick their snacks every day. But that kind of alleviates having to do it first thing in the morning.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I do that too on Sundays. I cut up fruit. I get them all in little bags. Also, cooking meals, I'll try to cook double the amount of meat for something so that I have it, half of it for the next night for something else.
Yes.
Just to try and save on that.
Yes.
Because if I don't have stuff easily ready to go, I'm going to grab a Snickers.
Oh, for sure.
especially in my office, like when I get stressed and I'm busy and blah 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 blah. I will grab whatever is closest and easiest and feels good.
Yeah.
So I keep like in my office, I keep like a box of Triscuits and tons of cans of V8 and healthy snacks. I also have chocolate. I have lots of chocolate, but I try to go to the other stuff first.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. I stopped over the summer. I had a ton of like really good snacks that were in there, and then I ate them all, and then I didn't restock them, and so now I just have junk, a lot of junk. It's not okay. Not okay. So I'm trying to work on that, but you know, what are you gonna do?
How about exercise? That one is one that I'm always in my mind. I know like I'm going to exercise 4 times this week, and then like the week happens and it's all shot.
I just don't. It's so important. It's so important. I mean, you can read the studies and you can hear people talk about it all day long, but if you get up and you exercise, even stretching, if you just get up and stand up and stretch in the morning, your whole day is different. There's no way around it. And I'm the first one to tell you that I don't do it. I don't do it because I'm lazy, and I wake up in the morning and I'm all stiff and I'm tired and I don't do it. But I know that I will feel so much better if I do.
Yes.
It's so important. And I know Spike last year got into that burnout, his cycle of, what was it?
The cycle of sacrifice and renewal.
Right. So he got into his renewal and started doing his martial arts stuff, and he was running a lot, and he really, I mean, that was a huge thing for him, and I know it really changed his year.
Yeah. For me, I love to run, but I can't run in the morning anymore because the sun isn't out until, you know, I have to already be at work. And then the sun goes down almost by the time I get home, it seems like. So I've just been doing some yoga in the mornings when I get up with my Miracle Morning. And then my 8-year-old is starting to run. So like it's like half a mile at a time that we'll run. But I at least get that in over nothing. Yeah. I will try to sneak in other things too, like if we have indoor recess, which I hate. I think I've talked about that before. But I will take a group of kids that want to just walk laps in the hallways.
Oh, that's fun.
I also have a group of kids right now that are interested in yoga. So even though we're outside at recess, we're gonna do yoga in the grass out there. So I thought
that's really cool.
Extra exercise there if I can.
That is very cool. Yeah, it's the recess thing. I've been trying to get up. If nothing else, I've been trying to get up we have 4 lunch periods. So during 2 of them, and they're not necessarily back to back, just anywhere, I've been trying to either be walking around the cafeteria with the kids or walking around outside with the kids just to get moving. But it can be tough. It's just, you know, there's so much to do. I know Melinda Miller has this mobile workstation that I'm just like itching to get one, but half of my building is downstairs and up another flight of stairs. There's no elevator, and there's stairs. Mm-hmm. So it's just not going to work for me, but I'm trying to find something that just gets me out of my desk.
Yeah. I try to stay out as much as I can. Or, you know, if you've got any of those kids that they need breaks, like I have some students that I just give the teacher and the student a break, and I go walking laps with him, or we go to the stairs, or we actually have a fitness center in our building because we're K-12, and it's meant for the high school. But I'll take a student up there, and we'll go on the treadmills together, or use some little weights. So every once in a while, I get to do that.
Great idea.
Not as much as I should.
Right, but really, is it ever as much as you should?
No.
You know, it's tough. It's tough. I think one of the big things that I do for time for me is, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I bought a work phone mostly because my husband uses it for testing, and I use it for testing our apps too. But I have iPhones. I'm in the Apple space, but we bought an Android to be able to test things on because neither one of us have anything Android. And so I use that one for work, and I put my work email on it, and I put I have all the parents who have a number have that number, my teachers have that number. If they need to call me, we use iMessage for inter-school communication, so I use my iPhone for that. But I turn my phone off on Saturdays. It is 100% off. I will check it on Friday before I go to sleep, and I will check it on Sunday after church. but I don't touch it on Saturdays. If it's that much of an emergency, the people who need to get a hold of me have my personal cell phone number. But that's been a big help for me because it's a full, even if I'm busy or if I'm doing nothing, it's a day off.
Yeah, I'm working on that too. I'm not that good at it, but I am working on it.
It's hard, but it's really been a game changer for me. And you can, even if you don't have a work phone, if you're not purchasing a second line, which is completely fine, use Google Voice or use something like that you have the option to shut it off, but that it all comes to your phone. And then, you set your Google Voice number up. If you're not familiar with Google Voice, set it up, have it forwarded to your phone, whichever phone you're using. And then you can put it on Do Not Disturb on Saturdays. And you can set it like that so that you never have to worry about it. It's just automatically on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah. And I think what's so important of that is that, Spike had talked about cycle of sacrifice and renewal. Like, I know it's good for me, and you can get yourself to keep working, and then you're constantly tired.
Right.
But when I do make myself not work, like this weekend I actually did a really good job. I didn't start working until about an hour ago when I came in my office. Nice. And I feel so much better and ready to go. So it's like you have to get that discipline to stop working so you can renew yourself.
Yeah.
And then be ready to go for more.
I think one of the things that I learned when I was working in human resources that is so important now is you have to get to the point that what needs to be done, not what would be nice if it was done, not, I'd rather do it now than tomorrow. What absolutely has to be done and what can wait, because it will never be all done.
Time could stop.
That's right. You can never catch up. And for people who are used to checklists, for people who are used to being able to cross things off, for people who have to be able to finish that list before they go to sleep, this is not a good job for that, because you can't.
Yeah.
There is no way that you will. My poor administrative assistant, the woman comes in with a list of 5 things that have to get done today, and she goes home with those plus 6 more, at the end of the day, because once the kids come in the building, it's them.
Yeah.
It's parents, it's them, it's whatever comes, and you're dealing with that. You're never going to catch up. And so as soon as you can come, you don't have to be okay with it, but you have to be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that makes really all the difference in the world, because if you can just focus on what has to be done, the rest of the time, nothing has to be done on Saturday. Nothing. Unless you have to go to a football game, unless you have to go to a sporting event, unless there's, your auction is on Saturday night, unless there's something that you physically have to be at. There's nothing that if you leave work on Friday and you get your list done, there's nothing that has to be done before Sunday. There just isn't. So
I'm going to have to replay that part of the podcast every day, I think, because I know that, but I don't do it.
Yeah, it's the same with me getting up and exercising.
Yeah. Hey, so one other idea, Melinda Miller shared this with me, is so I use Google Calendar, and I have separate calendars. Like, I have one that my secretaries can see. I have one that is just tasks, so I schedule things that I'm doing, work, the things I'm going to work on.
Yep.
But Melinda's idea was to use that personal calendar and schedule, your family things, the things you're doing personally, to be able to then use that as a reflection tool during the month, to look at, okay, am I actually getting in personal time? Am I doing things with my family? So I just started that, and there wasn't much on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a paper calendar that I do that with at school, because I love, as much as I love how all the electric calendars work together, all the electronic things, there's nothing quite like having a paper pencil planner, that you can highlight and color code and
see. And I used to love that, and now I just can't. I love digital. I don't want to have to rewrite it if I
and see, that's exactly why. So if you use it for your personal one, then you don't have to rewrite it, because they're not going in both places. And that's what I figured out, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to carry it around. I don't want to have to put it in 2 places, but you don't. If you use it for something completely different, then it's a totally different story. But it's what I learned when I was doing when I was in human resources and I was doing direct sales a lot. One of the things that I learned was that you have to block out days that are no nonsense, like this day, and we blocked them out in red. So for instance, my husband's birthday, or one of the kids' birthdays, or a day that we've all been looking forward to go to the apple orchard, or something like that. that date is blocked out, and there are no negotiations. It does not. That is a day that this is what we are doing, and there are no exceptions. Like, work will not get in the way. We all have it blocked out. Nobody's working late. Nobody's bringing work home. This is an important day for all of us. And I think that sometimes it's really important to do. Even, my husband and I will send each other messages throughout the day. It's like, do you have a lot of work to do tonight? And if we do, then we'll hang out together and we'll both work so that at least we're in the same room and we're hanging out. But if I don't have a lot to do and he does, maybe he'll stay an hour later at work so that when he gets home, he's not working and it's family time. But I think there's really something to be said about finding a way to make that work, that, when you're at home, you're not working. Like you, because you do a ton of time. When you're working, I know you're working at home. I know you're doing stuff at home. But you're in your, like you said, like an hour ago is when you actually started digging in for this week, and you are in your office.
Yeah.
So your kids are at home, they're asleep, and hopefully, and you're in your office working. So it's not like, your husband's sitting next to you and you're trying to work and he's hanging out, and there's that back and forth, that tension. Because I know I get tense sometimes when my husband's working for the fourth day in a row, and it's like, just sit with me for just a little bit, just put it away. But we all have those times. So there's really something to be said for blocking it off and making it a priority for you.
Yeah. So one other thing that I'm trying to do to grow myself personally is to meditate, which I'm so ADHD that it is a struggle, and I actually laughed when I read meditation as a one of the habits in the Miracle Morning. I'm like, there's no way possible.
When I got to that point in the book, I almost lost my mind because I thought Jess is not sitting and clearing her mind for 5 minutes.
I know.
There's no way.
It's crazy. I know, but I started using, and Spike recommended the app Headspace.
Yes.
It walks. It's a guided meditation, so you're listening to it, and it's 10 minutes, which I was like, there's no chance it's gonna happen. But it's such a great app, and they do. It doesn't make you feel guilty that your head just wandered into like 18 places. Like, it trains you, like, it's okay, those are gonna happen. Now pull back, and like, it's been good. It's definitely a work in progress, and I don't do it every day. Sometimes I will just set my timer for 1 minute and see if I can go 1 minute before the timer goes off.
I don't know how you can.
So I just saw this on Facebook the other day, and it's from Ellen DeGeneres with a quote. And it's so true. I meditate every day because it feels good. Kind of like when you have to shut your computer down. Just sometimes when it goes crazy, you just shut it down, and when you turn it on, it's okay again. That's what meditation does for me. It's just like a little reboot we need.
I like that.
I just have to share that.
You know what, though? There are days when I'm at work, and I'm trying to find an app on my phone that I want to tell you about, so that's why I'm not looking at the thing. But
I figured you were playing Angry Birds or something.
I'm playing my stupid solitaire game so I can go to bed when I leave. No, or when I get off the podcast. No, there are days that there's so much going on at work. I just can't. When I get like overstimulated? That's not really the right word. But when there's so much going on. There's so much going on. I can't. I just, like, my whole brain just shuts down.
Yeah.
So I close my door in my office. I tell my secretary, I'm like, I'm not available, because my door is always open. Yeah. I'm like, I need 5 minutes. I close the door. I turn my light off. I close my blinds. I turn my computer off, and I turn on like rain sounds or something, and I just sit for like 5 minutes and just let it just do absolutely nothing. And because the lights are off, it helps me. You're not looking at things. I'm not looking at my computer screen. It's just, I shut it off. I've got the rain sound, because that always really calms me.
Yeah.
But there's an app that I have. I used to have trouble falling asleep. I went through a time in my life that I was really depressed, and I really struggled.
Which, by the way, if there's any principals listening and you ever feel that way, it's totally normal.
Yeah, totally normal. I wasn't a principal yet, but it's normal. It happens. It's okay. I want to say it's called, I don't have it on this one, but I think it's called Deep Sleep with Andrew Johnson. Oh. I think that's the one that it is, but I'll find it. It's this man who has like He's got a British voice or an Australian voice, one of the two. It's weird. But it's so relaxing, and he teaches you, like, you lay down and he teaches you how to completely relax your body. And it's literally like, you're starting with your toes, and he'll have you, just squeeze your toes, squeeze them as hard as you can, and then let them go. And I'll feel what it actually feels like for them to not be tense. And then, it's your ankles, and then you work up to your calves, and your whole body, you do this. And it's like I want to say it's like a 25-minute. You can set the time that you want it,
wow.
But I am always asleep by the end of it. It never fails. I am always asleep. If you
you're
just
going to
listen
have
to what
to
he's
find
saying,
that, so
yeah.
we can put it in the show notes, and I want to use that.
It's great. I put my headphones in, and I just lay in my bed, and it is the only thing that never fail will put me to sleep.
Yeah.
I'll have to find it, but it's awesome. But, and sleeping is another thing. We were discussing that in our Voxer group, that, you have to get enough sleep, but you can't get too much sleep either. Because that will just ruin you. I mean, my Saturdays are a disaster because I refuse to wake up early. But then I've slept so much that I'm useless all day.
Yeah.
And, it's okay because I'm not doing any work, but
yeah,
it's a disaster.
Yeah.
So
our time is almost up, but I just want to share one quote that I'm reading the book The One Thing right now, and that was recommended by Hal Elrod. I find so many great books. And as I was reading this, it was like, yep, this is me, this is me, this is me. So the author says, when people don't understand the power of the one thing, they try to do too much. And because this never works over time, they end up making a horrific deal with themselves. They go for success by sacrificing their health. They stay up late, miss meals, eat poorly, and completely ignore exercise. Personal energy becomes an afterthought, allowing home and health life to suffer becomes acceptable by default. Driven to hit goals, they think of cheating themselves as a good bet, but this gamble can't pay off. It's dangerous to assume their health and heart will be just waiting for you to come back and enjoy any time in the future. So I leave you all with that thought, to keep yourself healthy, for your whole staff, for you, for your family, to last the whole year.
Perfect.
All right.
Send us out.
Principal PLN out.
Thanks for sharing in the learning with us today. Remember to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes, and continue the conversation by joining the Voxer group. Links can be found at PrincipalPLN.com.